He played it. Wait. Oh, oh,
Oh,
oh, oh, wait. Oh, we're watching this. We're watching this video. 70 minutes of Lies of P. Someone played the DLC of Lies of P.
going on, guys? I had
We're
the
watching this.
opportunity to get hands-on with Lies of P Overture. I got to play
Okay.
the game for 2 hours.
Oh, what is that? That looks like the weapon from what? It looks so. It's like the Gunlands, but it's one of the. It looks like. Is it from God's Eater? We are never getting those free gameplay. Nope, we're not getting it. We're not getting it tonight. Say almost good. Shut up! It's not a P. You should know it by now. Also, this weapon looks like excuse me. It reminds me of. I don't remember where is it from. I forgot. Dude. That's a PP, but DLC is DLC. I know, but leave me alone, guys.
Hours going through the first level up to the first boss, which
Okay.
you'll be seeing on screen, and then
Oh,
playing
really?
the game's new boss rush mode and fighting 3 other new bosses. In that
There's a boss rush. Oh my god.
2 hours, I managed to beat all of the content provided on the maximum difficulty provided, and I was
Damn.
told I was the only person to do so aside from one other earlier in the day. Now, the reason I say
Damn.
that is
Good
because
job.
I used to
There's a-
absolutely suck at Lies of P.
Ooh,
Over
there's
the
a
last
bow
year in my
effect
free
too.
time,
Holy
I've
shit,
been
there's a
diving
bow
back into
weapon.
this game on New Game Plus, and I found
Damn.
a newfound appreciation for it. And I will admit, pretty much all of my past grievances about the game were skill
Okay.
issues. Now, fortunately, with the DLC,
Sorry.
you don't need me to tell you how good
At
the
least you
base
realized
game is.
that.
You already know that.
This
Overture
weapon,
is more
though.
of the best of Lies of P, and we have a lot of content to discuss. A lot of content coming with this DLC.
There's a lot of things here that I'm seeing. Am I seeing a double barrel shotgun arm? Guys, tell me that does not look like a double barrel. Funny enough, PP in music stands for very softly. Huh. I want you to guys tell me that looks like a double barrel shotgun on an arm. I'm about to absolutely buy this, guys. Guys? I need someone to actually donate me $50 so to actually buy the game with Remnant 2. I am going to buy this. I am. Okay, so to this year, Lies of P is gonna be on the list. Elden Ring Night Ring is gonna be on the list for me to buy the game. Other than that, I don't know. But Gears of War Reloaded also gotta be on one of those.
And you already heard me mention a little bit of it. Boss rush, difficulties, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Don't
We have a
ask. You
lot
know
to break
Taylor's gonna
down.
do it.
But
Oh shit! You have a point. Never mind. What was I gonna say earlier? Doom. Doom Did Our Ages kind of actually made me think twice. One, the game is actually $80, and second, the game doesn't really actually did a good job with the gameplay. The gameplay, I feel like, kind of misses out kind of a lot of things. It's not a perfect one. I do think like the Doom Eternal was actually significantly so much better compared to Doom The Dark Ages. That's personal. That's like a personal preference. So like I can't really say I want to actually buy the game yet right now. That's the thing. So like Doom The Dark Ages might actually come by probably much later.
the best place to start is with what is Lies of P Overture. Lies of P Overture is, of course, a new DLC for the base game of Lies of P.
No, don't buy.
But even without purchasing for $29.99 all the new content, there is still going to be a pretty big
Wait, how much?
for $29.99.
For $29.99?
New DLC for the base game of Lies of P. But even without purchasing for $29.99 all the new content, there is still going to be a pretty
Oh, so it's the same price as Elden Ring Night Ring. Oh shit.
big overhaul to the base game, which we will break down later on. But
Okay.
the new content of Overture is a prequel to the setting of the base game, exploring the days right before the Puppet Frenzy outbreak and delving into more secrets of the alchemists. Now, since we were only
Okay.
allowed to play the first level,
Woman!
the actual full plot of the DLC
Pick it up.
was not revealed to us, but as we've
Okay.
already seen with the trailer and the descriptions online,
Okay.
we'll be fighting alongside the fabled legendary Stalker, facing off against even more powerful enemies.
Oh, that
who
looks
brought
so good,
secrets
dude.
hidden in the past. Now,
All I can say, the fact that the DLC is like 120 ringgit. I'm cool with that. It has kitty, game of the year already. Brother, Lies of P already has a kitty. Now we have 2 kitties. Double the chances of getting a game of the year, bro.
Well, they say these are the final days of Beauty and Crot.
Oh yeah, also what's interesting is the fact that there's actually something interesting about you petting a cat. They did something pretty cool here in the game.
As you can clearly see, from the very beginning of this DLC, things are already twisted out of recognition.
Yeah.
The Overture adds many new weapons, Legion arms, skills, items.
I need to
buffs,
see
pretty
more.
much more of everything.
I
I've
wanna
tried
see
out quite a bit
more.
of it. I didn't get to use everything yet, but man, the stuff I did use was absolutely awesome. Those 2 hours flew by so fast, I was not ready to quit. But I got far enough to where they had to stop me, saying I reached the end of the allowed content, and let me tell you about it. The first
Damn.
level of Overture.
What is that? Beretta, what is that air horn? What is that snake air horn? Somebody's gonna bonk someone else's snake's head, bro, with venoms in it.
Is Crot Zoo, a menagerie of different
What?
animals twisted by the corruption. It
I edited
starts
this section heavily to show specific things. There is there is extended gameplay in further chapters. I see.
off with the player walking through this snowy forest. We didn't get to see how the player
Okay.
ended up here, but Jiminy does mention something about a stargazer, and putting together the context clues that Crot Zoo burned down a long time ago, he of course deduces that stargazer transported us to the past. Now right off the bat, with the new enemies we're facing, they inflict a new status effect called Freeze, which
Okay.
if applied fully, drains the player's health and slows their movement.
Okay, finally something new, because like my only complaint in Less of P is the fact that it kind of looks like there's only like 1 or 2 elements that were being put up with.
And that was an absolute pain to deal with when inflicted. You don't want to get caught by that. The build we were provided with was a balanced quality build with stats high enough to wield all of the new weapons. The one that was started with
Whoa, 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 whoa! What in the world am I seeing? Okay, here we go. There is some interesting weapon here that I'm looking at. The bow weapon is first of all, it's actually pretty cool looking. There is a claw weapon. There is a weapon that looks like a fan. There is also a weapon that looks like a power bunker. There's also a weapon that looks like like a heating metal pipe. Like there is a lot of interesting one, but my favorite one is the pale knight. Pale knight. That one looks fucking cool. What is that pinwheel? I do not know, but it looks good.
was the new Gunblade, a great sword with a cannon on it, and I have been warned
Oh,
pretty early on underpowered.
what the fuck is that? There is a fin. That's the ship fin.
From people that played before me, so I opted to switch the weapon out and tried out this new massive pinwheel weapon. Now honestly, I thought it was ugly, but the moveset was pretty cool, so I kept the weapon's handle, but threw on a blade that did the most damage, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this thing was absolutely busted. It's called the Arch's Guardian Blade. And
Oh, look at them. He's actually using it as a fucking bat, bro. You got a blender for a weapon. Finally, something that we have been asking for. What the fuck? It is a pinwheel. It is.
with the Maniac's pinwheel handle. It looks a lot like Ziostorm's sword, and the skill is also very similar, as we'll talk about soon.
We got fuck. We got dogs in the game. Oh my god, I fucking hate dogs.
Coats the player in lightning and gives you a new special dodge.
Damn,
while
dude,
also
we got a
buffing the weapon
monkey,
with lightning damage
monkey
as
enemy
well.
type.
And
Holy
this was just
crap.
putting out some insane numbers. That came in especially
Whoa,
handy in the boss
what
fight
is
of this
this?
level, which we'll talk about later.
Why do you
on.
can actually
We also
do
got
that?
to try out 2 of the new Legion arms, one of which was a shotgun that could be.
Whoa! I'm gonna read this.
We also got to try out
Okay.
2 of the new.
So it is a Legion arm that launches blade using power rotation power. Launches blade return after they slice the enemy. So like a shuriken. What game is this? Let's P. The video is shown in DLC. Yeah. It's like Sekiro, but in it's a story of Pinocchio. Everything in this world returns to its place. However, there is no one who can mock the great flight. Damn.
Legion arms.
And then we have this. What is
One
this?
of which was a shotgun that could be charged
I
up,
told
and
you.
when fully charged would one-shot most of the smaller enemies, but could also do big stagger damage to a boss.
Ooh.
The other launched these little
Oh,
shurikens.
that is definitely looks like a power bunker, but a shotgun.
It could be charged up to shoot 2 at once, and they would stay suspended in the air.
Yeah, that is definitely like shuriken. Yeah, you're throwing the shuriken. That is pretty cool.
doing damage over time. Now, I'm not gonna lie, neither one of these felt particularly strong, but perhaps we find more utility for them when we actually get to use them at an extended period in the final version
Yeah.
of the DLC. But I opted to use the shotgun in my run.
Oh,
But
you
getting
tried to
back
actually destroy the
level
box.
itself, the zoo has you facing off against many different kinds of corrupted animals. You start off fighting these
Oh.
twisted mandrills, and these guys are pretty easy. They stagger.
Oh, they are
as a
definitely
weapon,
monkeys.
but
They're
there are some
apes
bigger
then.
ones later on, but they're not too bad either. I will tell you what.
Oh, they're
is
baboons. I
this
just
time
realized that.
are the corrupted
There's a kangaroo?
The small ones can turn into Sonic the Hedgehog and roll
What
around.
the fuck? Yes. There's kangaroos.
But the big
Australian can be happy with this game more and more now. That armor kind of reminds me of Nero from DMC5. Oh yeah, it kind of does actually. It kind of has similarities with that. Unfortunately, you don't use them as a rocket and actually jump on it and actually ride on it, unfortunately.
can pull off some crazy combos by hopping towards you and kicking you with their legs, and their tails have some insane
Oh my
reach
God.
on them. They killed me a
Damn.
few times. There are also
They-
mutated
well,
elephants,
this is one of them.
giraffes, wolves, among other things, but you get the idea. It's a zoo.
Holy shit! Holy shit! That looks incredible!
What is cool though is that you can actually read a lot of the plaques throughout the zoo. Just a cool detail. Now, like many of the other levels in Lies of P, the actual layout itself is fairly straightforward. If you play
Okay.
the level like a Roomba checking every single corner, eventually the only one that will continue on is the main path, but the
Okay.
others will lead you to treasure chest and new loot. And of course there
This
are
one found called the dino. That's an elephant.
shortcuts back to the main Stargazer that are not hard to find either. This is just only the opening level of the DLC.
Okay.
I'm sure it expands a lot later on.
I do hope they do that because I heard one of the main criticism of Lies of P is that the Lies of P level design is very linear. And an abandoned zoo, did I hear that right? Yes, it's in an abandoned zoo, so we are fighting bamboos, kangaroos being mutated.
But as far as the Krot Zoo level goes, it's pretty standard with the early levels of the base game in terms of
I might
layout.
actually need to
But now
play
let's
this
talk
game.
about the main
Me
boss
too.
of this level. This is the Tyrannical Predator.
That gave me hippopotamus PTSD, but what the fuck? That's a crocodile. Look at the crocodile enemy here in this game. I love it, me too.
A giant corrupted crocodile who likes to do a lot of charge attacks. He does some attacks where he can slam his jaw down and spin with his tail. The tail attack caught me quite a bit. That one was hard to see coming. He also has an attack where he'll open his mouth and charge forward, and the timing on that can be hard to pinpoint.
You
also.
look so
Now, I gotta be honest,
cool.
this boss was pretty easy. I managed to beat it first try. Honestly, I was doing too much damage to it to the point where I thought something was wrong. I was expecting a phase 2. Hopefully I have the footage of that. We were allowed to record the level portion, so hopefully
Okay.
you guys can see that.
I hope they do actually buff it up if they can.
Because the lightning buff on that weapon I was talking about came in especially handy in this fight. That special dodge. was
Ah, because you managed to dodge it left and right multiple times. Okay, okay.
getting out of the way of his charges. But I do think this serves as a great introductory boss into the DLC because the other ones we got to fight were much harder. But after beating the Tyrannical Predator, it opened up into a greenhouse level.
I do like that animation though.
Where the main enemies were these feminine puppets. And these were
What?
pretty tough. But since I was using a special weapon with lightning attributes, it was able to exploit their elemental weakness.
Oh my
which
god,
is
they
something-
look like the Russian woman from the Atomic Hearts, the twins. Lies of P, you know this game? Ballers, I love it, me too.
keep in mind, especially on the later boss fights. But that level itself was pretty short. I ended up pretty quickly at the next boss arena, which was for Marchiona the Puppeteer.
Oh, that's a
by
bit
Death,
sad.
Who we'll talk about in a minute. However, that was when they came up to me and stopped me, telling me that was the end of the allowed
What the fuck?
content.
I
still
love
had
it.
about 15 minutes left to play around. Now, what I ended up doing with that remaining time was trying
Okay.
out the bow, and I've got some
Okay.
pretty mixed feelings about it. As a primary weapon, I don't think it's very good. The range is
Okay.
pretty limited. You do have infinite ammo, but it doesn't seem to put out
Oh.
that much damage. But as a backup weapon, when you need to put some distance between yourself and the enemies, that's where the utility lies. And the big
Okay.
charge shot skill you have is pretty cool too. The other hour of gameplay we got was in the game's boss rush mode. Now I'll talk about the
Okay.
details of this mode real quick before we actually get into the bosses in case you don't
Oh,
want
saving up for
spoilers
it,
on
but too expensive. It's too expensive, kiddo. Don't buy it. And also, it's very brutal. Don't play this game just yet because this game is very brutal.
what exactly those bosses are. When Overture releases, if you go to the Hotel Krot Stargazer, at the very bottom there will be a new boss rush mode. This will add the option to do individual fights, as well as gauntlets with various difficulty levels ranging from 1 through 6. And when we
What?
loaded in, the default difficulty there was 3. In order to unlock difficulties 4, 5, and 6, you had to beat them on the lower levels first. And considering 3 was the one we loaded in with, that was likely the level of the base game. Now what's interesting is that we never really got a straight answer on that, because they said the difficulties themselves are not directly scaling damage and HP. There are other factors at play when changing the difficulty.
Does that mean that we are gonna have a new moveset, or
Again, we didn't get any specifics on this, but that's what they said. It's not just a straight scaling factor. Now, there were 3 new bosses to choose from in that boss rush. I won't name them yet, but I did manage to beat all 3 of them on the level 3 difficulty, which again seemed to be the closest to the standard base game. We were not allowed to record this part of the playtest, and another part of it that was not open to us that they described to us were boss gauntlets, called death marches. This is where you can create your own boss rush in any order, with a minimum of 3 bosses going up to every boss in the game, and you can change the difficulty on those as well.
Ooh,
now,
pretty
I don't know
cool
if there are
setup.
going to be pre-made death marches that you can unlock special rewards by completing or not. I hope there are, but we did not learn about that in the event. Now here's where I'm going to talk about the new bosses, so here is a spoiler warning. If you do not want to know about the new bosses that were not shown in the first level, then go ahead and skip ahead to where I talk about the new game update. But here's your warning. The first boss in the boss rush that I went up against was Markiona, the Puppeteer of Death. We saw her in the trailer for Overture. She is the puppeteer who has this sort of angel puppet that fights alongside her. This was a fun fight. There's a lot that's going on trying to balance the puppet that
Mommy is here.
also fighting off against her.
Mommy is here to bring down the 2 balls on you.
She uses these big blue orbs to attack, but there's a really good rhythm because when the puppet is about to attack, the strings will glow red, and there wasn't really a moment where she was attacking with the orbs while also commanding the puppet at the same time. There was a good back and forth, so it didn't feel unfair. What makes the fight confusing though is that oftentimes when you're fighting Markiona herself, parrying or dodging her combos with the blue orbs, the puppet will attack from off screen. So you really have to be watching the strings themselves, and as soon as they glow red, I would just hold my block. And that worked out really well. I was using the Eye of Ouroboros, and there wasn't a time when I was just
big blue orbs, yes sirree.
Blocking that her attacks broke my posture. So when the puppet would attack from off screen, I would block and then hit Markiona and get all my health back. By not focusing on the puppet and instead treating it as a single fight against Markiona with some off screen attacks, to me that made it a lot more manageable. Now when you get her about halfway, she will do a big attack with the puppet where it glows bright orange and does a few slam attacks and then causes a giant explosion in the middle of the arena. This causes Markiona to go into a more aggressive state, if I remember correctly. So if you can survive that midpoint phase change, then the fight goes back to being what it was before. I was able to beat her in about 5 or 6 tries. She wasn't that hard, and as soon as you beat Markiona, the puppet dies too, which is why I was kind of saying I just ignored the puppet and treated it as just some off-screen attacks that would occasionally come in. It was a very fun fight, and I think for the second boss in the DLC, it's a good difficulty. And out of the 3 we got to fight, it was my favorite by far. The second boss in the boss rush was the Two-Faced Overseer. This was a really big dude we fought down in some kind of alchemist laboratory. And
I want to say something so bad, but I don't think it's appropriate. Lol. You can DM me and I'll judge you from there.
Kind of jar on his head with a green liquid.
I don't think he's gonna be that bad.
The player, and wielded a big club. Now this fight was pretty straightforward. He didn't have a big moveset, but every one of his swings, if blocked and not parried, would absolutely decimate my stamina. And I'm really not that good at parrying, so I opted to primarily dodge. Now this guy also had a ton of health. His attacks were a combination of a lot of sweeps and smashes with the club, and they were pretty well telegraphed, so they weren't hard to see coming. But again, if you got hit, it would do a ton of damage.
The monster looks so adorable. That's a crocodile. Her name is Daisy.
And becomes much more aggressive. And he begins this like 10-hit combo with the club where he's smashing it over and over and over again. Now if you can manage to parry
that would be the dream for me to parry that, bro. I would love to parry that guy so much.
It's an excellent way to break down his posture. But for me that sucks at parrying, I just ran away. Now since he was much faster in this state, honestly I found his normal combos to almost be easier to manage and block and dodge, because as soon as the telegraph
I don't think that's bad, Exilius. Big blue orbs? You can say it. You can say it. You can say it. You can say it in the chat. You can say it in the chat.
graph would appear, that's when you do it. But this more aggressive state would last for again about a quarter of his health before he went back to the other, slower one. And that was kind of the gimmick of this fight. Every 25% or so, he would go back and forth between these states. It doesn't change much, this was a pretty straightforward fight, but with a lot of health and doing a lot of damage, it's just a matter of not making mistakes. And I was able to bring him down in about 7 or 8
Alright,
tries.
go ahead.
But the final boss we got to fight in the boss rush was the Anguished Guardian of the Ruins. And we saw this guy a bit in the trailer for Overture. This was definitely the hardest of the three, and there's several different reasons for that. This is one of those fights where he takes up a giant portion of the arena. If you manage to get under him, you're not going to be able to see anything, and you're kind of battling the camera alongside the boss. Now, to balance that out, the boss really...
I want to say the mommy boss be giving us blue balls. And I love that. I love that.
A handful of attacks total. So after you've done your first, maybe your second try, you're going to have seen everything. It's just a matter of, like I said, actually being able to see what's happening. So the best way to approach this fight that I found was just standing right in front of his face. He can do a big fury attack where he stands up real tall and then slams down. But the timing on that was very easy to figure out. He can do an attack where he spins and then slams the ground with one of his hands. That has about 2 hits. There's another where he does a swipe with the spear and then follows up with 2 quick jabs. And then there's one where he jumps across the arena with a giant spear from above. And I'm pretty sure that's it.
He is actually calculated.
In phase 2, the giant spear that he's holding above becomes imbued with this holy light. And now attacks with that spear do a giant explosion afterward. He then gains 2 new attacks where he fires a laser from his mouth. But aside from that, everything remains the same. And it's just a matter of watching out for those lasers.
What the hell? He got shot or something?
Follow-up explosion from the spear. Now, despite the big size of the boss, I don't think it did as much damage as the second one. Except for the lasers. The lasers absolutely decimated my health bar. But I managed to bring down this boss at
damn, I forgot about that guy. Actually shoots people.
These bosses were fun. Definitely not as hard as like Lexatia or Simon Manus. Or even I would say King of Puppets and the Romeo fight. If I had to give a direct comparison to difficulty, I'd say something like Green Monster of the Swamp. Both phases. Now, I'm not saying the whole DLC is not going to be that hard, because I doubt we've seen the best it has to offer. But while these 3 were fun fights, they were around the middle in terms of difficulty. But now that we've gone over the new content of Overture that we were...
They should really just go all out with the DLC if they can, because just make it just like how From Software did it. Just make the game hard or brutal or something.
Allowed to look at. Another thing shipping alongside the DLC is a massive quality of life update. Now, while we were...
But at the same time, they should really also focus on like adding more equipment for the players.
Provided the details of this update in full. There were a few things that I noticed that were new. Now, whether these are unlocked in the DLC or part of the new update, I'm not sure, but there were a few new things. Firstly, when leveling up, you will have on the bottom of your screen all of your ergo chunks available to use in that menu. So you no longer have to exit and go into your inventory.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's all in one place now. There are also now 3 new difficulty modes for the base game. The first 2 are called Butterfly's Guidance and Awakened Puppet, and therefore a more casual experience.
So they actually finally added difficulty options into this game, huh?
The game easier. The default difficulty is now called Legendary Stalker. Now, if you feel some type of way about easy mode, according to them, the feedback has been extremely positive, so ultimately it will lead more players to playing the game who otherwise wouldn't. And
okay, yeah, that's a good thing at the very least, because like, yeah, I guess it's a good thing because like I think people will love to get into Pinocchio stories and actually enjoy the sceneries. So like for some reason I don't understand the joke. What joke? Don't even try to. Just don't. Spicy, it's not for you to actually think about it. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but it's okay.
And that's just the reality of it. But the game itself has been out for a while now, so if they're gonna do it, alongside the DLC is a good choice. Now, some other things I noticed were that there were several new elements for the grindstone, doing things like critical hit damage and several other things that I hadn't seen before, but I'll be honest, in my playthrough I didn't use all of them. I got fire, lightning, and acid and didn't really touch the rest, so I'm not sure which ones are all new and which aren't.
I forgot what the hell is the grindstone for.
New ones. Another thing is that in our playthrough we were wearing more rings than should be be allowed. Either 5 or 6, again I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but there were definitely new ring slots available. And that alone right there is going to make you way more powerful. But whether that comes through a new upgrade when the
That
quartz
also means they can actually go all out with the difficulty, right?
tree, or is just automatically unlocked when the update rolls out, we don't yet know. But those are all the changes I can remember and I had written down. There may be others you notice in the footage, and of course I don't believe the boss rush mode is tied to the DLC, so either way if you have the base game and don't
Oh, I don't think it will. I think it's gonna be the update for the base game because like why we actually make the boss rush mode behind the DLC because like why not just make it an update for it?
just the DLC, you will still have that new content to look forward to. And I'm sure
Yeah.
this patch is going to bring a lot more. But that is pretty much everything I got to experience with Lies of P Overture. This is going to be good. It's more Lies of P, and that's probably the best compliment I can give it. Simply because the base game was already so good. Now what we experienced was only a taste of it. There's going to be a lot more here, especially with that $29.99 price tag. You know you're going to have plenty of content. But y'all let me know down below, are you looking forward
That
to
is a
Lies
very
of P
good. That
Overture?
is a very good price point.
Personally, I cannot wait. I've got my new Game Plus build ready to
The
go.
fuck is this? What the fuck is that
Forward to Lies
weapon?
of P Overture.
You built
Personally,
a
I cannot wait.
tornado
I've got my new Game
fire?
Plus build
A
ready to go. But let me give a
flamethrower?
massive thank you to NeoWiz and everyone involved that provided me with this opportunity. I'm extremely grateful. But with all
Yeah,
that, if
I'm
you
so happy to see. I'm so happy to see. Ziostorm is getting an opportunity by the developers to give like get a shout out or get invited to their own enterprise. Because like I feel like it's a bit sad the fact that From Software doesn't really actually give out much opportunity for him. Like Elden Ring, Night Ring actually could. But hey, I'm glad. I'm just happy for him.
enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new around here. And I
Yeah,
will
that's
catch
so
you in the
cool,
next
dude.
one.
I'm not gonna lie, that is pretty cool. Even those weapons that I have actually are really, really cool. That looks pretty satisfying.